Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report Spotlight. Today we have a new guest, Frank. Frank is from Quite Frankly. He has a YouTube channel. He talks about social commentary. He has his podcast where he talks about other news. You can see his live stream Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. You can find all his work on his YouTube channel, which is Quite Frankly. I'll be putting all the links at the bottom of the video. And I'd like to welcome Frank to the X22 Report Spotlight. Frank, welcome to the Spotlight.
Dave, I'm so happy to be here. Happy.
Thanks for being here, and I'm honored to have you on the X22 Report Spotlight. And I wanted to start off with what's going on in the world, especially with Elizabeth Warren. Now, she continually was out there saying that she's Native American. Trump made a bet with her, I'll give $1 million to one of your favorite charities if you prove that you're Native American. So she's supposedly running for the 2020 election, and she decided to go ahead with a DNA test. And it showed that she was like 0.1 or 1.6% Native American. And now she's claiming that she's Native American. What is your take on this? I mean, do you think she's actually Native American? Has she won the bet with Trump?
Absolutely not. First of all, if she won the bet with Trump, then he needs to pay her 1/1024th of $1 million, whatever the hell that is. And the second thing about this is the reason, this is the types of things I love covering, for not because there's any cosmic significance in the story, but because this is just part of the overall comedy of the life of the lives that we're living and in the paradigm that we're in. Elizabeth Warren was pretty much given a genealogy homework assignment. Elizabeth, go over there and prove to all of us that you're an Indian. Okay, prove to all of us that you're a Native American. Go keep yourself busy and leave the adults alone. She went off and actually got a DNA test done. And it's amazing. Yeah, he had this here now, and she's been claiming this privilege for a long time. And we have to get back around to what that privilege actually means. But now it shows that she may, and that's the emphasis here, may have 1/1024th Indian DNA, which is problematic in two ways. Number one, as you probably have seen in the last 24 hours, the average white American has 18% Native American DNA, which is far more than Warren's, which is 0.098%, which is the lowest estimate according to the study. The second thing that I see that I think is really funny is that Elizabeth Warren is part of the same roving group of people who believe that if you proclaim yourself to be a member of the opposite sex and start dressing that way, the universe is going to realign itself to make that be reality. So wouldn't holding up 1/1000th of your DNA to prove anything about your identity definitively become a little problematic for those people out there who deny that their sex chromosomes have anything to do with their biological reality? It makes no sense to me. But this is the type of getting back to the privilege part over there. This is the type of problems that the left, and I'm not even going to make this a party issue. It's just an ideological issue that has permeated both parties in many respects. But this is the types of problems that they're starting to have when you have no ideas except creating victim and oppressor mentalities and trying to sell that to be able to consolidate federal power and override what was once a republic of limited government. Then this is what you have. You need to get into people's personal lives. You need to make these ridiculous notions about, who you are and what that means just by your birthright. And then you eventually start stepping on your own toes as the ridiculousness eventually has to keep subdividing itself into new categories of victims because there are no ideas. Always remember that. There are no ideas. So you just need to be able to find more about the personal lives of people that you can create political talking points about. And now here we are. And because what is the real point of her going out there and needing to be identified and confirmed Native American? Because there's a special point of privilege with these identities and these types of approaches to life. And that's the saddest, sickest part out of all of it. But hey, you know what? I have a lot of time watching people trip over themselves.
Yeah, it's like when they start mentioning these things, it feels like they're damaging themselves. I mean, is this going to help her in the 2020 elections?
No way. How does this help her anywhere? I mean, if she gets kicked out of Congress, where the hell is she going to get it? Oh, somebody will hire her somewhere. But
yeah, they always give them like $1 million jobs someplace else, probably at CNN.
Oh yeah, but CNN, she'll be getting the coffee gopher. That's what she'll be. She'll be getting everybody coffee at CNN afterwards. But I don't know. It's not going to help anything. I think this is just more of the comedic part of the downward spiral that we're witnessing right now.
Yeah, I agree. And also I just want to go on to what happened with Stormy Daniels. A federal court judge did dismiss the entire case and saying that Trump is now owed legal fees from Stormy Daniels. So that whole thing is blown out of the water right now.
Well, yeah, you think about what just happened yesterday in itself. First of all, we had Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren completely debunked. She went and she did it to herself. I mean, she could have just let it go, and she would have been in a much better position today than she was 2 days ago. She could have just let it go. This is all her doing. Then yesterday we have the leaked documents of Andrew McCabe committing yet another felony, starting this whole the unmasking process, illegal unmasking process to get people to come down on Michael Flynn. Then you have Stormy Daniels and Michael Avenatti getting dismissed and having to pick up the legal tab for the president. Carter Page sues the DNC yesterday, Perkins Coie and Sussman and all that. Claire McCaskill gets outed as a fraud. Everybody, whoever that the Bresnahan, the guy that Taylor Swift endorsed after all those years of staying politically anonymous, he starts falling behind. Things have been so amazing. But here's the thing I wanted to bring up about it all. Yeah, it's funny to see the floor fall out from underneath the feet of people like Michael Avenatti and Stormy Daniels, who have been nothing but media fodder, distraction, circus sideshows the entire time. But the reason why all of this stuff is happening in bunches, I would have to say, people say things happen in threes. Well, things are happening in sevens to these people now. And why is that? Because from the very beginning, they bought their own hype. They believed that all of this internal dialogue that they have inside of their bubble inside of that bubble is contained all of the news networks, all of the major twin sister print outlets like the Washington Post and the New York Times. This internal dialogue is so strong for them that they believed that there was no other alternate way of seeing the world, and that all of their hatred for Trump that they've been able to drum up together in such emotional ways, they believed that was real. And now they're seeing how all of their favorite characters that they were going to be using as the spearhead against the president, they're falling to the wayside. They're being dismissed. They're being thrown out the window, and they're being left with just, I don't know, they're holding the bag of a really bad bill of goods. And I still think that there might be a chance for some people to realize the error in their ways, or at least of their thinking. But the biggest problem is that they bought their own hype, and now they're facing denials and failure on so many fronts. I just wonder how many people are starting to realize that they were really sold off down the river.
You said something very interesting where these people are living in this bubble. And I think it goes back to when the mainstream media and the deep state and the whole entire package had control over the system, where the mainstream media, they were able to push the fake news, and no one questioned it. Nobody said this was fake, and everyone just believed it. Now what's happening is Trump has been calling out the fake news, saying that it's fake. Other people now are calling out the fake news, and their stories, they're dying by the wayside because the mainstream media is not going to back them up because they're going to be called out on it. And I think that's where it's all starting to fall apart now. And I think you're right. They've been living in this bubble.
Well, let me ask you this. What happened to Omarosa? What happened to Michael Wolff? What happened to the Woodward book? I mean, where is Lanny Davis and Michael Cohen all of a sudden? The last thing I heard about Michael Cohen was a week ago, and there was a story out that said that he officially changed his political party affiliation to the Democrat Party. What does that mean? Where are all these people in these stories? You remember CNN stood behind the Lanny Davis and Michael Cohen story for like 2 weeks without retracting what was going on, and we had these plea deals. And you said before, Trump is part of he's leading the charge in finally having the balls to call people out for the fakes that they are. And what do? It's like, I've heard the expression used a lot. He points the laser pointer, and like cats, they all go running toward it, and they do their due diligence. Elizabeth Warren was one of them. He called her out for the fake and the fraud that she is, trying to peddle an ancestry that is not hers to gain some kind of political favor or financial favor when she was a student in college, whatever it is. And she goes out to try to prove herself legitimate and makes herself look worse. CNN and all these networks, they take these accusations of being fake personal because they have never been challenged in the past, and they, for one time, enjoyed a very cushy life of being able to shape reality for people. You remember when Mika Brzezinski let it slip on her show with Joe Scarborough last year or sometime right after the election, talking about how she felt a little bit attacked that somebody would be out there trying to shape reality, or Trump was trying to brainwash people and control the narrative and what people see. And she felt attacked. She said, that is our job. It was Freudian. Obviously, you can take it for whatever you want, but this is what these people believe. It is their jobs to shape the way that we see the world, not to be able to go out there, find information, give you the information, and then sign off. They give you the information and tell you how to interpret it.
I agree. I wanted to change subjects here, and I wanted to talk about Brennan, Clinton, her staffers. Now, Brennan's security clearance, Trump took that away on August 15th. Clinton, we've come to learn that she gave hers up on August 30th. Her staff also had security clearance. She said they needed it for research. Now, why do you think that she gave up her security clearance?
I don't have enough on this to really make a definitive statement on it. The only thing I can say is that from the conversations I've struck up with people who may know and do know a lot better than I, the thing that makes the most sense is that this is an optics play from start to finish. That if she did have any kind of crazy idea of trying to run again or staying relevant or being able to control whatever she has left of her public image, to be able to request this being revoked could look like a sign of solidarity with all of her friends who have been so publicly, I guess, humiliated by having it revoked out in the open. It could look like a sign of solidarity. It could also, like I said, just be a sign of, hey, take this away from me before someone takes it away from me, and then it just looks bad. If it's from her own doing, then the optics are a lot better. And as you know, all these people care about is how they look. It's looking good and avoiding looking bad. And especially since somebody in a position like Hillary Clinton is watching all of her closest confidants and allies dropping like flies. Flies. I mean, you think about the grand jury that's open on Andrew McCabe right now, and the James Baker and the closed door testimonies of Bruce Orr and Lisa Page that apparently have taken down the ceiling. I can't imagine that it's anything other than just preparing for what may be coming around the corner.
This is going to be my theory on this, and you can tell me if you agree, disagree, or you want to add something to it. I think when Clinton saw Trump taking Brennan's security clearance away, everyone in their minds thought, okay, what did Brennan do wrong? Was he involved in something? Because why would Trump be taking away his security clearance? I personally think that Clinton didn't want this to happen where Trump took her security clearance away, because if that did happen, people then would think, okay, what did Clinton do, for Trump to come and take her security clearance away? And of course, it would be Trump taking away Clinton's security clearance. I mean, that would, even though the mainstream media wouldn't want to report on it, that would be out there. If she did it quietly and said, I don't need this anymore, no one was going to make a big deal over it.
Yeah.
And I think she didn't want Trump to take it away from her.
I'm right there with you. I think that agrees perfectly with my idea that we are looking at a war of optics here and how you control the way that you're perceived by the public. I think that there's There's definitely going to be a larger, moderate group of people that have been sitting on the fence a little bit that would be a little bit more interested than not in why her clearance would have been taken away. That would definitely drum up interest. But then again, there's probably about a third of the country who would see this as another authoritarian move by the Trump administration. And people are still trying to build a case that Trump has been authoritarian in some way. And that would definitely be one of them. So I feel like I said before, I think that Clinton ultimately did not want to leave anything to interpretation and just pulled the plug herself.
Yeah. I wanted to move on to James Wolfe. And now it's being reported that James Wolfe leaked the 83-page FISA application on March 17th. What do you make of this story? Is he actually the leaker? And why isn't the Department of Justice coming down on him right now for leaking this information?
Oh, he's one of them. He's definitely one of them, but he also exposes what we've been really suspecting of going on inside the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is probably the most corrupt committee out there. And this is the same committee that's at the heart of making sure that this limited immunity deal with Julian Assange to come over here and talk to provide forensic evidence that it was not Russia that provided WikiLeaks with all of the DNC and Podesta emails. That members like Mark Warner, members of that committee, were instrumental in making sure that deal fell apart. That was also the deal that would have protected our intelligence community from a full-on unredacted release of the Vault 7. The Vault 7 leaks. That this is really huge right here, because James Wolfe, and this was one of the major stories that John Solomon had put out over the summer. James Wolfe was totally rung up by the DOJ, by Jeff Sessions leak hunters. Okay, it was probably Ezra Cohen Watnick was part of it. You had this situation going on where you have James Wolfe he's being given the FISA application, which is unredacted at this point, and it's going out to his side piece, Ali Watkins, and also other journalists, and it's getting on out there while the rest of the country and members of Congress themselves. So we have the press that's getting unredacted applications for surveillance warrants, and then we have members of Congress who are being stonewalled from actually seeing this stuff and having it slow walked out there. And not only is this guy in charge of, he's a staffer for the Senate Intelligence Committee for 30 years. You're talking about an unelected person here. So when I'm looking at this, and the way that they caught him was that the DOJ put out there a version of the FISA application with the wrong date on it. I believe that the date that the FISA application for Carter Page was officially issued was October 21st or something like that. They put out a FISA application with the date October 19th to see where it would pop up. And lo and behold, it popped up in the press, and they traced it all the way back through. And that's how they started plugging up all the holes with the leaks. And you have a guy in the situation like James Wolfe who lied about it at first, lied. And he was doing it, absolutely. And now we see that he has been charged with nothing but lying to the FBI, not leaking classified information. When I look at, and his lawyers are very adamant in driving that home, that he is pleading guilty to lying to the one count of lying and not classified information. This guy sang like a canary. I have no doubt in my mind he sang like a canary. It's the only way that a person like this is getting a sweetheart deal, because, when it comes down to it as well, there's no chance also in my mind that this guy, James Wolfe, took it upon himself to take all these classified, unredacted documents and leak it. Take it upon himself to do that. You got to really think about what you know about Mark Warner killing the Assange deal and the resulting Vault 7 release. Think about how Warner was trying to get Steele and get in touch with Christopher Steele and was already working on that with James Comey. So the suspicion that I would lean toward wholeheartedly is that James Wolfe rolled over at minimum, at least on Mark Warner and Comey, and maybe Burr and Rubio, who knows, because they all knew about those text messages to try to get in touch with Steele as well. And I have to imagine that he rolled over on other journalists too, because Ali Watkins wasn't the only one reporting on Carter Page FISA, but she was definitely the first one. That was probably the bedroom privileges that they granted each other. So for him to come away with this with only one count of lying, I'm sitting back, I'm popping my popcorn, and I'm waiting to see what happens. And it's the same kind of suspicion I have with what might have gone down with Imran Awan, because there's no, unless it's either they got a bigger fish and they gave him a sweetheart deal for all the information they needed to take down bigger members of a conspiracy to control the government and the information flow within the government and to protect bad actors. Or the B side is that there's no justice left in the world and we have nothing to look forward to, and we might as well just start reporting on sports and movies and doing movie reviews. And I don't believe that the latter is true just yet. This looks like all the makings of James Wolfe. It gave up the big boys, because there's no way an unelected staffer of the Senate Intelligence Committee would get away with just one count of lying for everything that he did with classified information.
I agree with you. I think this is the same thing with like Lisa Page, where she rolled over. She's giving testimony. Baker giving testimony. I think they're using him to go after the big boys, the big girls, and he's going to turn everyone in. I mean, he's just going to lay it out there and say, this is everyone that's involved in all of this. But what's very interesting about this is that the mainstream media has had the unredacted FISA documents this whole entire time. Mm-hmm. I mean, they know exactly what has been going on, and they're reporting the opposite of what was really going on. I mean, that's just amazing to me. So they have it, and Senate and others do not, and they're requesting it. I mean, this is just mind-blowing, because think about it. The mainstream media, they know exactly what's going on. That shows the mainstream media has been covering for these people all along.
Yeah, they're complicit. They're complicit in all of this. What did we learn from the DNC? Like, we can keep talking about the Russia investigation and blah, 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 and who was the leaker and where they get the leak from and who hacked and the hacking. And once again, we would be having that conversation on the terms of the collective DNC media shadow government complex there. I mean, they control the narrative in every way, shape, or form. We keep talking about where the leak came from and not what the leak showed us. The leak showed us that the DNC and the Clinton administration, the Obama administration, and the press were all one party. They were all and they already rigged. And for everybody to come down on Donald Trump and say he's nuts, he's been saying that where did he get these baseless fears about the election was being rigged? What are you talking about? Because we have definitive proof that one election in 2016 already was rigged. The DNC primary was a show, So you look at all this stuff. From there, we saw the complicit nature of the media in all of this, and it makes you wonder. Well, not makes you wonder. It actually clears up a lot of the wondering what their role has been. They get all of these leaks. Andrew McCabe, he's guilty of at least one felony on the face of all this stuff. With it, he lied under oath to what's his name? Michael. Our Inspector General of the DOJ. Michael. What's his name, Dave?
Oh, I can't think of his name.
I'm blanking on this right now. Either way, he's. No, I can't go on without knowing his name. Jeez. Michael, come on.
Horowitz?
Yes.
Okay. That's who it is.
You see, this is what happens. You get inundated with names. So he lies to Michael Horowitz about or leaking to the Wall Street Journal. And that was actually him ordering Lisa Page to do that. She did that because she thought it was on the up and up. So these people, and of course we know now with Christopher Steele and the illegitimate dossier, they were using their contacts at Mother Jones and their contacts at Yahoo News to be able to filter through and launder this information back into the public sphere to legitimize their own bad police work, their own corrupt framework. So you think about really how intimately involved the media is. It's like how I heard Michael Savage say it before. The fourth estate has become the fifth column. And that's exactly what I would characterize all this as. The leaks are the number one way that they do this, because they get things out into the sphere, the public sphere. The media is then able to give all of their friends on the inside cover by spinning what might be coming out and spinning what the implications might be coming. What do you think all of those the unmaskings were about? There was nothing illegal about what Michael Flynn was doing with Kislyak after the election. That was part of his just overall duties as part of a transition team, and he was cleared by it until Andrew McCabe and Peter Strzok wanted to go in there and interview him again and edit 302s probably to try to nab and slowly pick apart the cabinet of Donald Trump. So you're looking at this, and then back to the SSCI, back to the Senate Intelligence Committee when Dianne Feinstein was still on there, and they interviewed Glenn Simpson at Fusion GPS, and she caught a head cold, and in the throes of her head cold, couldn't keep herself from leaking the interview of Glenn Simpson out to the public. What do you think that's for? That's to get ahead of the curve. That's to get all of the cheat sheet answers to the quiz to all of your friends who have not been interviewed yet. This is what these people do, and they do it in plain sight. But because they still have most of the known mainstream media on their side, they have cover that nobody else would have in any other situation.
That is true. I mean, the one thing that would shut all of this down is the declassification. And we know on September 17th, Trump signed, the document saying, let's declassify this. Then he gave it to the Department of Justice. I mean, where are we now? Do you think that all of this is going to be declassified?
Yeah, I think so. I really do think all in good time. And I think that this has been kept. There's always moving and there's always shifting, and you have to call audibles at the line and change the play up, because there's always going to be countermeasures done and taken by other people who want to evade being caught up in something. But I think that I think the biggest thing here is the election. Once we get past the election, all bets are off. Once majorities are kept in place, and they need to be kept in place, then there's going to be nothing stopping these investigations from exposing absolutely everybody. By 2020, if there is a Republican, and I hate talking like this because it sounds like I'm rooting for the Republican Party, but the reality is that if the Democrat Party, okay, and because there's going to be Republicans that are taken down as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. But the only way that we have a chance of taking down these people from both parties is if the majority stay exactly where they are or grow a little bit, because we all know that that there are at least a few investigations in the House that would be stunted by a new majority, and there would be a few investigations launched by these crooks in the House if the majority is flipped. But I don't know how the hell they can do that with people like Elizabeth Warren and Claire McCaskill and people like Andrew Gilliam as their faces now. I don't know how they can win the election, but after the election goes through, I mean, there's nothing they can do for 2 whole years. And the first 2 years of Trump's administration so far, the first 2 years of his first term, has been putting all these dominoes in place. And you can say there are people out there who are frustrated with the limited amount of public hangings and arrests. But you really go get down to the nitty gritty and see how many people have been fired, how many people have been ousted, and all of the grand juries and all of the interviews that have been conducted not in the public eye that have been going on. There's so much ready to drop right now. All that needs to happen is get through November 6th. And then I'm telling you, the second 2 years is going to be a fireworks show.
Do you think the D-class is going to come out before the elections, or do you think it's going to come out after the elections?
I would have loved it to come out before the elections, but I would hate for all of this to be political. But depending on how Democrats are polling, and they're collapsing in the polls right now, and they're behaving so poorly that they're doing all of the work that maybe a huge October surprise would have been useful for. If the administration and the people on the inside who are looking to really clean up Washington thinks that the election is in the bag, then maybe they don't have to rush anything in a way where, for example, we first heard about declassification, and then here comes Hurricane Florence. Then for 2 weeks, the media was full on batshit crazy over Brett Kavanaugh and SCOTUS. 2 or 3 weeks on that. If anything would have dropped during that time, who's going to be paying attention? And then as soon as that's done and we focus back on wrapping up all of the loose ends on this ridiculous Russia probe, which actually includes declassification, then we have another hurricane, Hurricane Michael. And now we're about 2 weeks away from an election. I just wonder what is going to be the play, what is going to stick, because this needs to be on full display. And I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I can't imagine that they're thinking about media implications and exposure first and foremost. I think that they just have to do everything right. So I have little to no clue about what their timing is going to look like, but I do believe it's coming. Yeah.
Okay, Frank, hey, listen, thank you very much for being on the X22 Report Spotlight. Once again, how can people see your work?
Oh, well, you can go find Quite Frankly on YouTube. I'm live there Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm also live on Periscope, and I'm also live on Twitch, which is embedded on quitefranklypodcast.com, which is my website that you can find everything you need to know about the show, links to all the platforms that we're on, and all of that jazz.
Frank, once again, thank you very much for being on the Spotlight. I'm going to put all the links at the bottom of the video to make it a lot easier for everyone. Just got to click on them. We'll go right over to his sites. Frank, once again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Dave, I am so appreciative of coming on. Your channel has been a favorite of mine for a long time now. You and Sean from SGT, I found you both around the same time. So thank you both. And I can't wait to talk to you again.
Yes, thank you very much.